Good evening. This is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I welcome you to the 2 a.m. net. The purpose of this net is to promote the use of amplitude modulation and also to establish this part of this band as a place for AM activity in this area. Everyone is invited to listen. Licensed amateurs who can do so legally are encouraged to check in. We listen in the AM mode and transmit in the AM mode where possible. If you cannot transmit in AM, we encourage you to listen in AM and transmit in FM. If you are transmitting in FM, please adjust your transmit frequency a couple kCs above or below from our receive frequency. This facilitates the use of slope detection, that is, demodulating your FM signal with our AM receivers. When checking in, please announce your call sign in standard phonetics. Again, this is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I will now begin accepting check-ins. Any stations wishing to check in, please come now.
Good evening, Matt, W9JCC.
All right, recognizing Frank, W9JCC, our most loyal check-in. Welcome to the net, Frank. Do we have anybody else?
Whiskey Bravo 9, Bravo, Whiskey Papa.
There we have Dave, WB9, BWP. Welcome to the net, Dave. Do we have anybody else? All right, hearing none, start out by saying thank you to Frank for taking over in my absence last month. I apologize for not being here, and I guess I'll say Happy New Year to you guys because I didn't get a chance to last month. And I guess if you're watching on YouTube, you see something a little bit different this time. I'm displaying a computer screen. I don't know if anybody cares to watch my static video image of the camera. I guess if you prefer that, leave a comment on YouTube and I will switch back. Otherwise, I'll leave this up. If nothing else, we get a live clock, so you get an idea of how much latency we have. And right now, I would say we have. I'm looking at the wrong screen here. So. Right now we have about 30 seconds, maybe 30 to 40 seconds latency. Anyway, I've got some other things we could discuss. I guess we're having a drought. I think we're going to have an early spring. But first we'll go to the top of the list and see what you guys have to talk about. W9JCC, Frank, it's your turn from KC9UDX.
Good evening, Matt, and good evening, Dave. This is W9JCC. My activity the last week or so has been trying to resolve some Windows 10 computer problems, and I'm beginning to get it narrowed down. I get my machine to run for 4 days, sometimes a week, and then she'll crash. All but one instance happened when I was either powering down or powering up, and I got into the logs collection of the what do you call it? Anyway, into the failure logs and error logs, and I think I got it nailed down to the kernel level, which might mean a power supply or possibly a hardware error, but I haven't dug in that far yet. What I got to do, and I just noticed that about a couple hours ago, I was going to see if I could figure out a way I could look at the 5 volts on the system by using the USB port and a USB cable. but the little bitty ends of a cube are too small to get a probe on, so I was trying to think, boy, if I had an old phone that didn't work, that I could rip apart, I could probably use that as a test point. But anyway, that's what I've been up to here with that map, and that's occupied a little bit of time. So anyway, back to net control. This is WNHACC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And I can certainly appreciate what you mean with the USB connector. USB is fine because you can pretty much get away with plugging anything into anything these days. But from a typical hobbyist computer user's perspective, it's very frustrating. It's very, very difficult to use, other than for somebody else's ideas, and especially for hardware purposes, it can be very frustrating. I don't know that there's these days a better way to access that 5 volts from outside of the computer. You may have to open it up, and I don't even know what kind of connectors you have inside of there these days. All of this stuff has changed so rapidly, and I'm way behind. I would like to say you have a Molex connector for a hard drive in there, but I highly doubt it now that I think about it. So, otherwise, those Molex connectors fit meter probe needles very well. And you almost hit the subject I was going to bring up here later on, and that is modern computers, which I'm going to stop calling computers and start calling them update machines. It seems to me they're starting to get to the point where the only thing they're really useful for is getting software updates. And it frustrates me greatly because I like to have something that I can turn off today and turn back on in 6 months, and it works exactly the same way it did today. And that seems to be just about impossible with modern computers. Anyway, I'll rant on that later, I guess. And next we'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. Good evening, guys. Speaking of computers, I can't tune into YouTube tonight mainly because my never-ending rebuild the room project, which is into its 2nd year now. The computer that does duty for the radios and for the lab bench behind me, it's on a homemade cart, mobile cart. You know, holds 2 monitors, one over the other, and I got a new monitor upstairs, so one of the upstairs monitors came down here, so in the course of putting that in, of course it's a little bit bigger, and trying to get everything to fit right. All the cables are removed right now, and I'm trying to get it where it fits in the space in the monitors I can actually look at without having to turn my head completely around. You know, little things like that. If the computer could be turned on right now, I could tell you for sure, Frank, if this would work. I've got a little doodad. It's about the size of a flash drive, and it is a USB voltmeter, ammeter, and I'm not sure what all it measures, but it's mainly to see how any device you've got plugged in. You know, you can check on that, and I think it reads voltage no matter what. But I can't prove that because I can't plug it in right now. But those things are fairly cheap. I mean, like $10 or something. I got it probably a couple of years ago at least. Digital readout on it, and you know, cute little thing. Of course, it's some of your basic no-name Chinese kind of stuff, or about 50 different names depending on who you buy it from. Anyhow, before my radio time's out, stand by. Okay, this weekend, Saturday, I gotta throw this out there, just in case you guys know anybody this would apply to. what MREC is doing something. They get the name from a group out in New England area that's been doing this called Ham Radio Boot Camp. It's a day-long thing. Kind of like, okay, you passed your test, you got your license, now what are you going to do? And it's happening this Saturday, the first one. And because of the world situation that we have, there's a limit to how many people they can put in the classroom. It's over at HRO. So you got to sign up in advance. If you know anybody that this would apply to, tell them to go to the MRC webpage and see if they can sign up. The guys pass their tests every month, and they kind of just go into a black hole. I guess, in fact, a couple of weeks ago we did a special event for the club anniversary over at the store, and a guy came by and talked to us and said he's had his license for 2 years. He's licensed, but he's never transmitted. Anyway, that's enough of this for round one, so I'll send it back to them. This is WB9BWB.
All right, thank you, Dave. And I guess there's some merit to listening for 2 years and not transmitting. But on the other hand, you really need to get on the air. Otherwise, you never do get on the air. And I guess I encourage people to explore different avenues of amateur radio. You know, we do something a little bit different here, which most people don't do. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Everybody likes to steer new guys toward single sideband on HF, and that's fine to do that, but between that or 2 meters FM, there's a myriad of other things to do, and I guess everybody finds their own little niche. I was going to comment something else on that now, and I forgot what it was, but that USB device that you're talking about sounds like a very handy thing. I may have to investigate getting something like that. That would come in very handy in a lot of different situations. And you have something kind of like what I'm thinking about building in here. One of the reasons I have a computer screen on YouTube right now instead of the camera is not just because, well, there's several reasons. I'll tell you. The air in here is so dry that the camera mount that I made, this very long wooden, I'm not sure what you call it, it's not a pantograph, but it's something like that. It's really big and has a lot of degrees of freedom and a lot of radial lengths. And I guess when the wood dries out, of course everything shrinks and all of the connections loosen up, so I had a really hard time keeping it up. I have tightened it to the point where it might break. And then, of course, when it gets humid in here again, that could be a problem. But I guess the point is that the camera, because I had to do that, is no longer in focus. And it is very difficult to get that in focus because of the digital latency on the only monitor I can watch it on. But one of the other reasons is I'm kind of itching to get a video switching setup going here with possibly multiple cameras and a title screen kind of like I have right now. And I have all the equipment to do that, but no space in here currently and no practical way to do it. I really want to build a cart on wheels that I can put another computer or 2 computers on, probably 3 actually. And I may have exactly the thing, and it's kind of in the way anyway. I have an old printer stand that I bought, I couldn't even tell you how many decades ago. It's designed for an old wide format dot matrix printer, which I do have some, but I don't use them on this printer stand. And it would be kind of ideal to put these 3 computers on, mainly because it's on wheels and it's the right dimensions. But I have to do a lot of other rearranging in here first, and I'm not so sure that that's practical to do right now. And with that, before I keep rambling, We're at the bottom of the list. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. All right, hearing none. Dale Webler, AB9DW, obviously not on the air here with us tonight, left a comment on the YouTube video that he would not be here, but he is watching on YouTube, and he did comment about the computer screen, so I guess I will talk a little bit about that just to explain that it is a Commodore VIC-20. I may have mentioned this before. Me and a buddy were driving through Madison one time, probably 10 or 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I don't even know. And we drove past a thrift store, and I don't know why this idea popped into my head. I said to the guy driving, I said, that place is the kind of place where you could go in and find an old Commodore 64. And he kind of chuckled, and we went there anyway, and we went in and I found this Commodore VIC-20 for $4.99. I still have the price tag on it. An unbelievable find. So here it is. In fact, this particular Commodore VIC-20 is probably worth a few bucks because it's a rare model that has a Commodore PET style keyboard on it, a very early model. Anyway, that's what's driving the computer screen right now. And of course there's a clock counting in the middle of it, which is set to UTC time. Does not have any colons to differentiate hours, minutes, seconds, but I guess if you look at it you get the gist of it. So you can see the latency. And looks like we have about 30 seconds latency yet. So with that, we're at the bottom of the list. I will, I guess, expound a little more on my update issues. Well, I'll do the reverse. I'll continue my thought before I derailed myself with that. Frank, you were talking about Windows 10, and I have to say I have almost no experience with Windows 10, except I have a laptop at work that has it. And ever since I've gotten that laptop with Windows 10, my computer has been almost useless to me. It seems to me like the whole purpose of that operating system is to prevent you from doing things. And there's one piece of software that is vital to me to use, and I can use that, and that's literally the only thing. I cannot use it for any of the other uses I need that computer for. I need to connect it to machinery for diagnostic purposes, and I cannot do that. And there's a variety of other things I can't do. I can't even couldn't view a simple picture if I take a picture on my phone and send it to the computer. And I guess that's how I got into the rant about updates and modern computers. One other thing computer related, there's this software package called MuseScore, M-U-S-E Score, which I'm not sure what operating systems it's available for. I use it on NetBSD, and I have also installed it on a Linux computer that my son can use. And we've been transcribing sheet music out of the accordion instructional books he uses, not for the purpose of violating copyright, but for the purpose of being able to play back the audio from the computer. Rather than trying to use a conventional MIDI type program or sound tracker or something to enter the music, we are just transcribing the sheet music directly, and MuseScore will convert that into audio, and that way he can play along with the audio instead of well, not instead of, but there's times when I just can't be around to help him out. So not sure if you guys are interested in that, but this MuseScore package does an incredible job of making professional looking sheet music. I guess I've been tinkering with it for a few years, never really gave it too much thought until recently. But with that, I'll check one more time if we have any more check-ins. Any new check-ins, come now, please. And hearing none, we'll go back to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, KC9UDX, W9JCC. Very good. And, of course, good copy of everybody. Dave, 5 and 8, and I'm not, I think you're, I didn't look up the meter, but probably 40 over 9. I brought the screen up, and yeah, it looks like, I just eyeballed it, and it looked like about 20-second delay. And I saw the message there from Dale. And, so, yeah, and great on using the Commodore on there. That's pretty neat. Yeah, and Dave, that USB tester, I'm going to Google that and see what I can find. I might want to buy 2 of them. One to destroy so I can get at the pins, and one to just have around, depending on how much they cost. But you can plug it in and just read the voltage. If the voltage is within the 5-volt limits, that tells you something. But I was thinking of putting the scope on it and seeing what the transient looks like when it turns on and off. Because that could be a problem too. And that seems to be out of probably the couple dozen times when it's happened. Maybe it wasn't that many, probably more like 15. Yeah, maybe a couple dozen. It's always been on a turn on or turn off, either from cold start or from sleep mode. And yeah, as far as using a Windows 10 to be an industrial controller, I don't think it's made for that. Maybe if you're real imaginative, you could do it. I don't know. I haven't heard of too many people using it for that purpose. Although I guess if you've got the IO there and you can maybe write your own app, I haven't heard of any apps that are aimed toward that kind of thing. I use mine mainly for Microsoft Office and EasyNet, antenna analyzing, and things like that. And it seems to work pretty good for that. When it's working, my wife's laptop is quite stable, and she's never had any trouble with it. Of course, she has very little on it, doesn't use it a lot, and it's off most of the time. And that's maybe a good thing to do. Most of the times out there, this thing has the invisible timer. I think it's 3 minutes, but I'm not even sure of that. I did check the battery on the PC that was giving me trouble, and that was relatively easy to do. I had it all apart, and the battery was right down on the motherboard, and there was a board vertically on the battery. You can see half the battery on one side and half on the other side, so I just put one clip on the chassis and went down, and it read like 3.19 volts, so it should have been a 3.3 volt battery, but I figured 3.2 is probably good enough to keep that going. And what else was there? Oh, I attended an overseas CW class last night. First time the class just started, and I got info on it from a friend of mine that I've known for a couple of decades over there in Italy, and real neat class. My Italian's not so good because I just barely understand the guys, but when they started sending the code and asking for readbacks, that was pretty self-explanatory, so it worked out okay. So I guess that's enough for us. We'll take it back to net control. This is W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. That sounds very interesting. And I guess it might be easier to at least follow along in CW than if they're talking. I would assume, but I don't know. My CW copy is pitiful. I haven't worked on that in years, and that's my own fault. I guess I just don't get time to do that sort of thing. I have a practice CD from ARRL, which the idea was, when I had a CD player in the car, if I was on a long drive, I would listen to that, and that worked well. But now that I have a regular long drive that I could actually listen to that, I don't have a CD player in the car. And I suppose I could, if I could find that disc, I could convert it to MP3 and play it that way. And I guess next we'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Talking to a guy, this goes back quite a ways. He was a salesman, spent a lot of time in his car, and that's how he learned CW from scratch. He was, since it was a long time ago, it was back in the days of tape players and stuff in the car. He was always playing that while he was driving wherever he was off to, and he learned CW that way. And I know another guy who did mobile CW. There's one for you. He drove a pickup truck, and so he had panels sitting on the console between the seats, as opposed to the military, like clamp things. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those. And it was interesting on that because, this probably was back 10 years or so. We had him do a presentation at a club meeting about his mobile CW journeys. And he's a pretty big contest guy, too. And that very night, it just so happened, there's a guy in the audience, when it came to any questions and stuff, and the guy raises his hand. I'd have to look him up. I can't remember his name or his call, but he was visiting from Finland. He happened to be at ES at the time, and they told him about the club meeting, and he came by, and he had a flash drive with a collection of pictures and stuff. It just so happened that he did mobile CW, and he did a lot of one-day type expeditions to various islands and things. So he had a bunch of pictures on all of that. And I guess the other neat thing was, at the time, at least, he happened to be number one on the DXCC honor roll. He actually worked more countries than exist because he had a few that are no longer. All that on the same night. Well, my main computer upstairs has Windows 10 on it, and this one down here still has 7. Of course, they now have 11. And I've often said that I wish I had some program manager or something from Microsoft sitting next to me while I'm doing some of my stuff, so that when it would get stupid, I could just punch him in the face and say, "Is that what you intended?" I think a lot of the problems that they have... Nope, there is my timer. I suppose I could turn that off, but it's easier to leave it on for the times that I need it. I think a lot of the problems that Windows has is that over the years, Microsoft wants to help you. They want to keep making it easy for the person that is not a computer person. And unfortunately, they make it difficult for anybody that knows how to do stuff on there. It's, you can't get there from here kind of thing. That's not to mention their security type improvements, which really are, well, we're not actually going
All right, thank you, Dave. You made me chuckle when you said having the program manager sit there so you could punch him. I can certainly appreciate that. Something I kind of think about Windows is that the people who write Windows are used to using Windows, and that's just about all they do. And I liken that to something else that I think is a problem we have in our society today, that schools teach you how to be a student in school. They don't teach you how to be a person in the real world. And I think that Windows is kind of like that. Windows steers you into using Windows. And fortunately, I hate to say it, but it's a good thing that so many people are discouraged with Windows, because it finally gets us back to where people are using different operating systems again. I think most people migrate towards Windows-like Linux distros or whatever they call them. And I don't appreciate those too much, but at least they're using something a little different. As you can tell by me using a VIC-20 here, I still recall the days when everybody used a computer that wasn't compatible with somebody else's. And we all complained about that back then, but we did things about it too. We were able to get things from one type of computer to the other without too much issue. I think easier back then than you can do it today. Well, maybe not. Anyway, I derailed my train of thought again. So I guess we're at the bottom of the list. And I will ask, are there any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net? Come now, please. All right, hearing none. So I'm guessing it's just going to be the three of us from here on out, but we'll see. It's hard for me to keep track of time here tonight. I am more tired than usual. And you guys probably get sick of hearing me say that, because I'm always tired, more tired than tired with my work hours. But for some reason this week, I am sleeping more than usual and feeling less rested, so I don't know what's going on with that. Oh, I remembered one other thing I was going to say, Dave. You mentioned Windows 11. And I think Windows 11 is funny because it wasn't that long ago that people started spreading rumors that there was going to be a Windows 11, and Microsoft said that's a conspiracy theory. There will be no Windows 11. There will always be Windows 10. Don't you worry about Windows 11. And then very shortly after that, somebody pirated a copy of Windows 11, and it was all over the internet. Anyway, we'll go back to the top of the list. Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, KC9UDX and then that W9JCC. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but out of one corner of I hear an eyeball in new computers just in case. And one thing I noticed, I'd kind of like to migrate from a tower to a laptop, a nice high-end laptop. And one thing I noticed is it's getting harder and harder to get disk drives on computers. Some of them you can still get them, but there's a lot of them that come without. And I always get a disk drive or a disk when I get the TurboTax, and I know you can download it, but I don't know if you're going to charge each time you download the thing or not. But I know with the disk I can put it on my wife's computer, I can put it on mine, and I can give it to my daughter. There doesn't seem to be any problem doing that. And I didn't mention a lot of the trials and tribulations I went through with the computer. About a week ago, I got to a point where I got pretty frustrated and decided, well, just just going to bite the bullet and put new Windows 10 on there. And so I took the route of leaving the folders on there, but deleting everything else and putting Windows 10 on. So all the apps went away. And I said, well, it should be no problem. Just take me some time to put the apps back on. I got discs for the ones I need, and otherwise, I can download some of them. Well, anyway, I have a disk for Office 2000, and when I got to put that on, put the disk in, it went through the whole thing. I put the code in there, that long code you got to put in, and went through that mess. And when I got all done with that, I didn't have Windows 2007. It channeled me over to a spot that says, well, we're no longer supporting that. Pick one of these. I either could pick a monthly fee for Office 365, or I could buy a copy for $150. So I got stuck between a rock and a hard place there, and I ended up getting the monthly thing. It's about $7 a month. But and the other thing is that you can no longer get telephone help from Microsoft on PCs. If anything related to a PC, they won't. They'll help you with some of the game things, but not a PC. They tell you to go online and Google it, or look at their help, look at their support stuff, and that's just like Googling it. I mean, you just poke around and see what you can find. I have a note here about the 10-year life payment. Don't know what that was all about. So anyway, back to that control. This is W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. I guess if I were you, I would be very upset about having to pay a monthly fee. But on the other hand, I wouldn't want to spend $150 knowing that in 6 months it probably won't work anymore. Obviously it wasn't 6 months since the last one. I have a copy of that Office 2000 too. I have all kinds of that stuff from way back when. And I don't run Windows on anything anymore, so even if I could use it, I couldn't use it, I guess. Now with that disk drive you're talking about, I wonder if you could get a USB external disk drive. My laptop has nothing. It's got a internal eMMC, and I don't recall what eMMC stands for. Maybe you guys are familiar with this, but it's essentially the chip that's inside of an SD card. Only it's just the chip. And that's all the internal storage it has, and the external storage is a micro SD card. Of course, it's got USB, so I can plug in anything I can plug in. I have an adapter board to install a solid-state hard drive inside the computer, but I have no desire to do that. The solid-state hard drive takes as much power as the computer does, so the battery life will be greatly diminished. And I guess I'll get by without having that extra storage and a little bit of extra speed for now. I look at new computers every once in a while, even though I really don't know what I'm looking at and really don't need anything like that. And what always happens to me is when I decide I do need a different computer for something, I always gravitate towards the refurbished ones. You can get some really good deals on refurbished computers, and you can get some really bad deals on refurbished computers. The last time I looked, you could get a computer that will not run Windows 10, that is only 32-bit, will barely run a usable version of Linux for about $150. And if you're careful, for $150, you could find a reasonably fast computer that will run just about anything you need to run. It's still new enough. But that is changing daily. And I suppose that the more usable ones are going to get more and more expensive as the new ones get harder to get. And next we'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX. All right, thank you, Dave. We're kind of over time here, but I guess you reminded me of something. You know, these guys that give this software away, you know, they write this legendary piece of software, and these authors become legends, and then they give the software away for free because they don't want to deal with it anymore. and the entire community hates them because for some reason they're having trouble with this free software now. I've seen that multiple times over the years. Anyway, we'll go back to the top of the list and call this the 7-3 round. Go ahead and take your time talking. I don't want to cut anybody short, but I will have to get going here pretty soon. So, Frank, it's your turn on the 7-3 round, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, KC9UDX, W9JCC. Yeah, and Dave, that was World Llewellyn. Forget his call now, W7 something. I first met him down at Dayton. That's where I first bought my first copy. I think it was the UDNEC. Might have been previous to 5.0, but I know 5.0 was one of the early ones I had. And I downloaded his latest one that he left for free. I think it's 7.0. And it seems to work okay. I just built some of my old programs on it, and they seem to run the same as before. So I think he's probably in pretty good shape. He's a pretty decent guy. I remember I was going to tell you before, I was going earlier today through some of the comments. I was trying to get information on my computer problem, and there were all kinds of comments on the web. And one guy commented that he predicted that in 10 years Microsoft would be bought out by what is it? The Mac. People make the Macs. And but they were all griping about all the problems that Windows 10 has had here with updates and so forth. Not just just updating, but that the updates cause problems when they get on the machine. And I probably have one of those old external drives sitting around. I know I bought one a long time ago, and I don't remember where I put it, but I don't even know if it would work anymore. But yeah, that's an idea too. And yeah, I'm glad I bought my car, Dave, when I did, just when COVID was just beginning, and got a great deal on it, and now I don't know if I would have even afford to buy one. Okay, not too much more to report. I think thanks for running the net, and we'll turn it back to net control. 73 is both you guys, KC9UDX, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And that's maybe a topic we need to discuss next month. I've got some ideas about what's going on in the marketplace, and I really believe that there is a silver lining somewhere deep inside the cloud of problems we're having with what's going on in the market for all manner of things, I guess, these days. But I'll write that down, and hopefully I can find it again next month. Next, Dave, it's your turn on the 7-3 round, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay, well, I've certainly dabbled with plenty, so, and I remember what I was going to mention. I have a USB, an external Blu-ray, reader, writer, everything, USB, that when I bought a new laptop, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now, but that didn't come with any kind of drives. And so I bought that as a just-in-case thing, because I like, even with music and stuff too, I like having something that I can hold on to, that I can go back to if need be, even though like in music, I've ripped all my CDs, they're sitting on a network drive, but still I can always go back and get the disc if I need to. 73 guys, and things like this net, that's what we tell the people too, new folks, that there's a lot more to just getting on a repeater. There's a ton of things you can do with a tech license, and HF is great too, but you can still do lots of stuff on VHF. So, 73 to everyone, and as always, thanks for doing this, Matt. It was a good idea to get this thing going. Oh, and kind of along the same lines, I guess, this weekend is the fusion net on the MREC repeater marks 400 consecutive nets, which is longer than any other local type fusion net. Anyway, this is WB9BWB 73 all.
All right, thank you, Dave. And I am the same way. I like to have a tangible, physical copy of everything. I have hundreds of records. I'm not even sure how many hundreds. I have CEDs, I have cassette tapes, 8-track tapes, open reel tapes, CDs, DVDs. Anyway, not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but I think it's a good thing. This concludes the 2 a.m. net. Feel free to rag chew on this frequency after my transmission. We will meet again on the 8th of March. I hope that's right, but this is February and this is the 8th, so February and March always the same day, so it's got to be right. 8th of March. Until then, this is KC9UDX, and I would like to thank you guys for being here. And, you know, we wouldn't have a net without you guys. And this is what keeps it going. I couldn't even tell you how many times I've run this net, or how many times we've had this net, because I'm not always the guy running it. But I could probably look back and figure that out, and one of these days I guess I'll have to do that. Anyway, until next month, this is KC9UDX 73, and good night.